Hey guys, and welcome back to the English Shooting live stream. Of course, I will be your host as always, Callum, and thanks for everyone joining and coming by. I've been seeing a lot of people waiting and chatting whilst we've been sort of waiting to go live. If you're new here, thank you very much, and you're soon see what this is all about. It's just a general shooting chat. Everyone that's been here before, you know what the deal is. Of course, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you're not already. We're averaging 2 videos a week plus the live stream at the moment. I'm just trying to put out as much as possible. We've been focusing a lot on UK law and explaining things, from this week, from your interview with your FEO. We can talk a little bit more about that later on, and also UKARA, which is very apt for the title of this evening in terms of action air and airsoft. If you want to learn a bit more about UKARA, if you don't know what it is, then go and check out that video on the channel after the stream. We do have some other more important topics as well. There was one that sort of slipped under the radar until I started talking to Connors today. I usually do this on a Thursday. I get my notes, I get the topics that we want to talk about, and I usually bounce off of him and say, is there anything else that I should be talking about this evening? And probably the biggest one, which I did see in the week, but sort of slipped my mind, was the banning of lead and the UK Reach announcement and further BASC announcement on that. So we will be looking at that in great detail. We'll be talking about Amber Hill as well and her amazing achievement, and sort of sets the hopeful picture for the Tokyo Olympics, although obviously things COVID-wise aren't looking too good for that, with spectators not able to go. Well, that's what they're saying at the moment. But anyway, the main topic is of course action air and airsoft. And one of the things, and I say it all the time, but one of the things I wanted to get straight in there is, no, not at all do I think it's boys with toys, people playing around with airsoft or action air. They are still guns at the end of the day, because they fire a projectile and they have a trigger. And we talk all the time about division in the sport, and as much as we hate the tweed wearers, the sort of the upper echelons of shooting, looking down on, say, practical shooters or your plinkers or your people that just go out general rough shooting, it's a bit unfair and a bit double standards and hypocritical for, let's say, live fire shooters to look at the same on action air or air rifle shooters. Where does it stop? If everyone's looking down on each other, then it's again going to be very divisive. So I always say anything with a trigger that you're shooting at a target, well, that is target sports, that is shooting sports. And whether you're doing that in terms of skirmishing, so shooting at each other, which obviously is, for a lot of FAC holders and certainly practical shooters, it's quite a weird concept. And when I've done it in the past, it's always takes a little while to sort of get that don't point a gun at somebody out of your head, and obviously get into the game paintball as well. But it is, of course, certainly I think, a brilliant gateway into shooting sports. And of course the channel was started to help people and explain things better, and to encourage people into this sport. And getting an FAC, getting an SGC, for some people is just not achievable for a variety of reasons. That can be down to cost, that can be down to your own suitability, it could be down to your age, so on and so forth. So action air and skirmishing and using, well, RIFs, realistic imitation firearms, and if you've watched that UKARA video, that term comes up quite a bit. Well, using those guns, it gets you into some form of shooting sports. And there's a lot of people that transition from skirmishing or action air into live fire shooting, and I'm all for getting people hooked. Give them the soft drugs and then get them on the hard stuff later on. And if you get people learning the basics without having to go through the rigmarole of getting an FAC, without necessarily their partner or parents objecting too much to, say, a BB gun to begin with, then people get comfortable, they get used to it, and then it's just a gradual increase. Also, shooting BBs is very, very cheap, or it can be. You can go and spend thousands of pounds on airsoft guns, but you can go and get something from a shop for 100 quid. You can get 10,000 rounds for what, like a tenner, 20 quid, and enough gas to last you for a month. Probably less than the total cost of going out there and getting your FAC. So you can get started, get into competition, and certainly with Action Air, you start learning the fundamentals of competitions and the fundamentals of IPSC and practical shooting, and they do transfer very, very well and very easily. If you're used to the range commands, if you're used to the general procedure at a range in terms of turning up, getting registered, finding your squad, doing your walkthroughs, making ready, do it and showing clear, and all those things, you're doing it with a BB gun, it transfers very well over to live fire, be that handgun, mini rifle, or shotgun. So I'm a big supporter. I know people like to refer to them as toys, and I know a lot of American viewers will certainly see it that way. And yes, I do think it's absolutely ridiculous, the restrictions that we have on realistic imitation firearms or BB guns compared to the other restrictions for other guns. It doesn't seem to make any sense at all, because, well, more powerful, more realistic firearms, air pistols, are obtainable to anybody over the age of 18, but a BB gun, you've got to go through, have a UKARA or have a valid defense. So yeah, I didn't actually, that's something I'll probably expand on a little bit more here. I didn't want to turn that UKARA video into a bit of a rant video, although you might get the feeling that at various points there's various pauses where I have to take a deep breath and just stick to the facts of it. And as a bit of background, UKARA is the United Kingdom Airsoft Retailers Association. It's a membership database of people that have successfully completed 3 skirmishes within 2 months, and basically it shows that you're a serious shooter or serious skirmisher, and you're not just wanting to go and get a BB gun for, say, a little bit of fun. You're taking it seriously, and you have therefore a valid defense after, from the VCRA Act, and are able to then buy non-two-tone, non-vibrant colors and realistic looking guns. And within that video, again, I explain it's because of the need for a valid defense that I got into shooting sports ultimately. So I suppose I can't be too unhappy with that, but it does just make an absolute mockery of it when you can go and buy, someone made a very good point, antique firearms, deactivated firearms. What if someone's going to go and get a BB gun to go and hold up a post office or hold up a bank or rob somebody? What's the difference of them going and getting something deactivated? Again, if you're pointing the gun at somebody, whether that's an antique firearm, a deactivated firearm, or a BB gun, it doesn't really make much difference. Both, if you fire, aren't going to, well, obviously the deactivator or antique isn't going to fire, but the BB gun isn't necessarily going to cause much damage to someone, so it's the same lethality levels, let's just say. But yeah, you need all of this restrictions for the UKARA, for the VCRA Act. But yeah, go and check out that video if you want to learn a bit more. But yeah, it's one of these, I think, unnecessary hurdles. We hear of a lot of criminals still obtaining realistic imitation firearms. You can still go into a shop and buy a 2-tone gun, and you can pop down your local Halfords and buy some spray paint. And there just seems to be this illogical sort of conclusion from the Home Office and lawmakers sometimes that, well, if it's against the law, people won't do it. Well, if somebody wants a gun for an illicit reason, be that to mug somebody, to intimidate, to rob, so on and so forth, they're not going to think twice about buying a 2-tone gun and spray painting it. It's like the crime that they're going to be going and committing with that gun is going to far supersede the potential penalties of painting it into a realistic form again. So it is just one of those ones that just seems utterly ridiculous. I really don't think, honestly, it prevents any crime, and it just ends up making it a real big ball ache for people trying to get into skirmishing. Now, this shouldn't necessarily be a barrier, because if you're looking at getting into Action Air, IPSC, Action Air, it doesn't matter if your gun's 2-tone, and a lot of people end up painting their guns. I mean, I'm sure if you've watched any matched videos of shooting PSG or mini rifle or even LBPs, people love to Cerakote their guns vibrant color. I mean, Mr. Crap Magnet himself, who is here. So thanks, Dan. Thanks for joining. He loves Cerakoting his guns, all different colours, all different patterns and schemes, and so on and so forth. So, you know, it shouldn't stop you. Yes, no one really wants to have a two-tone gun, but you can still go and buy one if you're over the age of 18. And if you go to a club, so IPSC is a fantastic club, of course. Paul Wyborn, who I work with on a day-to-day basis, is heavily involved in that club. So if you're looking for a club, he's based in the High Wycombe area. So if you're looking for an action air club, go and check out IPSC. And I know Arius as well. Again, thanks Arius for joining. Is a member of that club and shoots there regularly, and a few other friends as well. So it's really easy to get to. If you get to a club as well, they're going to have gear for you to borrow. There's, as far as I'm aware, there are no restrictions in terms of lending or borrowing realistic imitation firearms or even imitation firearms. So you should be able to borrow somebody's gun quite easily and get a feel for it. But at the end of the day, two-tone or not, you can two-tone, you can go into an airsoft shop and still buy and get started. And I really would recommend it if you really like the idea of competitive shooting and certainly practical shooting and IPSC. Like, Action Air is going to be a fantastic gateway. We talk a lot of the time about air rifles and how a lot of people, certainly a lot of people that I know that got into live fire shooting sports, they started with air guns. There's a video on the channel talking about how I started with my granddad, and air rifles can be just as important. And in a similar vein, air rifles, airsoft, and BB guns, they just get people learning the basics. They get people hooked. They get people intrigued. You know, the first gun I ever bought myself was an air pistol. You know, nothing close to what we can own in terms of under an FAC, but it got me down the range. It got me interested in shooting. It got me looking into the laws. It got me looking into the processes, and that's, I think, really ultimately what we need to encourage. So yeah, just I want to give that big shout out really to Action Air, to Airsoft. I really do think there's a lot for the community to be to benefit from. And we talk as well about the Call of Duty generation, and whilst that's not necessarily the best comparison, certainly with practical shooting, that there are some similarities in terms of the tactics, in a way, the dynamic nature of it. And there's a lot of people that their only experience of guns is on a PlayStation or an Xbox or within video games, and they have the amount of gamers, pure game people that have never fired a real gun in their life, but because of their interest in the games, they are hugely knowledgeable about the firearms. They have a huge interest in the history of them, the different models, accessories, and with games becoming more realistic, that only aids that interest. And as soon as they find out that you can actually own some of these guns in real life, then they get very interested. And then, looking at practical shooting or skirmishing, those are the closest things. Well, skirmishing obviously is the closest thing to, say, Call of Duty. And in terms of live fire shooting, practical, or maybe CRS, it's been a long night. Civilian service rifle, CSR, and practical shooting are probably the closest live fire. Of course, there's not going to be a discipline in the world, unless you go and join the military, where you're going to be allowed to fire live fire guns at each other. But in terms of the dynamic nature, it's very exciting, and people can sort of relate to it from a game as well. So again, I think there's a lot to be maximized from that, and certainly in the right way. I don't want to start giving the antis fuel for saying that practical shooting and IPSC and 3-gun is just military training. We've been over that old chestnut before. But yeah, let's see what you guys are saying, what you're talking about. And yeah, it's usual deal. If you're new to the stream, there is a chat box. You can ask any questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question, only stupid answers, which I give many of. So don't be scared. A lot of you guys use anonymous usernames anyway. Don't worry, I'm not going to tell if you ask stupid questions. So if there's anything on your mind, feel free to put it in there, from, where do I start, or what guns can you own, anything at all, and I'll try and answer them. But yeah, see a lot of regulars there: Simon, Kyle, Michael. There's loads of other regulars as well. I'll be here naming them all, but you know who you are, and thanks for joining. Captain Crack, have you been a busy boy this week with onlyguns.co.uk? Let's see if anything's changed. I'll be disappointed if you haven't. Oh no, it's only guns. So again, for those of you that don't know, any new people, Captain Crack likes to update a certain wedge. Oh, okay, that's pretty light. I would have at least expected my face to be photoshopped somewhere on it. So there's a web domain called onlyguns.co.uk, and for this week's treat, there's a pretty you can't actually see the bottom of it. There we go. There's a pretty standard shooting meme, but a pretty funny one. And to be fair, to be completely honest, I've done exactly the same thing so many times. Not so many times. On my first go, I remember going down to this range with my granddad, and I'd only ever had a few shots with an air rifle, and I did exactly that. And you'd be surprised the recoil that a 2.2 break barrel air rifle. I've actually got that exact gun sat right by me. Of course, I can't handle it or show you because, you know, YouTube. But yeah, I did the standard thing, put it straight against your eye, and did end up with a little bit of a black eye. I mean, in my defense, I was probably like 7 or 8 at the time. And I think my granddad knew exactly what was about to happen, but probably fancied a laugh that day. But I learned. I haven't yet done it since. I have witnessed a guy with a folding stock UK legal straight pull AK-47 do it. He came off a little worse on that one. So we were at this club match, and of course within the club realm, people are allowed to share each other's guns apart from long barrel pistols and section 1 shotguns. And this guy had this collapsing stock or folding stock AK-47 straight pull, and he was selling it, and there was a guy interested, so he's like, look, do you mind if I have a few rounds with it, but I want to shoot it with the stock folded. And everyone's going, yeah, okay, like, you know, it's probably not going to end well, but go for your life. So he did it, and he ended up holding it, using the scope, scoped himself with an AK, and ended up with a Hello Kitty plaster to boot. And if Mr. Alex Florence is in the chat or joining us tonight, he would certainly remember that one. But yeah, let's access logic from the Home Office. I know, right? VCR, the VCR Act does not stop chavs buying BB guns. Unfortunately, no. Again, like, you know, criminals don't pay attention to laws. We've talked about this before with, you know, ammunition restrictions. Well, why are you banning the ammunition? Because you shouldn't have the gun already. So it's things like that. Simon or Sinner 2004. Are you joining us at Brant's Yard on the 3rd? Absolutely. I am signed up and squadded. Connors is going to be down. Paul as well from Magload is going to be down. It's going to be the first match or shoot of the year, which is going to be, you know, blowing us some cobwebs. I will be shooting a section 2 on that, so I'll be giving some of you guys a bit of a chance. But yeah, it should be really good. Really looking forward to that. There will be a Magload stall at that match, so if you're interested in getting hands on or seeing any Magload swag, then come down to it. I believe guests are allowed, so I would certainly get in contact with Kentucky Firearms Club. If anybody is thinking of joining KFC, Kentucky Firearms Club, or wants to learn a little bit more about practical shotgun or practical shooting in general, or wants to get your hands on some Magload gear, then get in contact with Kentucky Firearms Club and see if you can arrange to visit that match and sort of see with your own eyes what we get up to. David doesn't usually join the stream, so David might be able to give a straight yay or nay on that one. but we'll see. Again, I cannot recommend Kentucky Firearms Club enough. I know they're based on the south coast here, or down south, and for your Midlanders and Northerners and the Scottish out there, it's going to be a bit hard for you to travel down. But certainly if you're along the south at all, traveling an hour or so for a club is really nothing. Like if you're going to be sort of balking at an hour's drive to go shooting, you're probably picking up the wrong sport, if I'm going to be honest. But yeah, KFC are great at introducing people to it. You can take it slow, no one's going to rush you, and you'll get all the training and instruction that you need. So yeah, I will be there. Very much looking forward to it, and I guess asking that you're going to be there as well, so it'd be good to catch up and hang out. Tiger Woo, I don't think so. Using a banana in a brown bag was ruled to be an armed robbery. Anything that could be perceived as a real firearm would carry the same weight in court. No, absolutely, you're right on that one. And again, you could ban all guns, be that realistic imitation firearms, air pistols, air guns, live fire guns, so on and so forth, antique guns or deactivated guns. People can still go into their shed, knock out a right angle bit of wood and put it in a bag. The thing about the bag, though, I mean, I don't know, it's very easy to sit here and say this not in the situation or not in the scenario, but if someone was robbing a bank with a bag over the gun, I would be sort of asking to myself why, because, and again, this is why the Home Office justifies having the VCRA Act in terms of, or the VCR Act in terms of realistic imitation firearms, is because there is an intimidation factor of seeing a gun or seeing something that you perceive to be a gun. Yes, you could have the same effect with something in a bag, but actually seeing it in the flesh, there's absolutely no doubt. And the thing is, the majority of people, you show them an air pistol, you show them a BB gun, most are not going to be able to tell the difference. And actually, from across the room, I don't think I would be able to tell the difference from the Beretta 92 FS air pistol that I used to have, or the real thing. So the best thing in those scenarios are of course just to comply. It's not worth being a hero and going home in a coffin. But yeah, it's interesting to sort of explore that. But I think that's the vague logic that the Home Office was using when they tried to restrict them. Of course, because people don't use guns in crime at all, and still, real handguns, for goodness sake, were still account for 40% of all firearm offences. So did the VCRA Act actually do anything? I'll let you all be the judge of that. But yeah, what you guys, Matt Andrews, not hating on airsoft, I would just think the price of a nice airsoft gun, you could buy a regular firearm instead, and then realise you're across the pond. I feel for you lads, really do. No, I appreciate it. At the end of the day, even here, just because you can get just because we can get real fire or live fire guns, there are going to be people in circumstances that it just makes them, prohibited in whatever way, cost, so on and so forth. So it's nice having that option, and there is a hell of a lot of engineering and design that goes into airsoft guns and BB guns, and it's another reason to not necessarily refer to them as toys, because if you've ever tried taking one apart or fixing one or repairing one, they can be considerably more complex than even a long barrel pistol here. I can just about get my head around one and just about strip one down and repair basic wearable parts. But Paul has stripped his gun down a number of times at the office, and it's like all the different springs and pins and mechanisms, and he talks to us about all the different performance gains you can get out of an airsoft gun. And it's just so, there's only so much you can do with a live fire gun, but with an action air gun, a skirmish gun, the possibilities are pretty much endless because of the amount of different components. It is just a shame that a lot of them seem to be fairly cheap and let's say Chinese. It would be nice if they were all a little bit, I wouldn't mind going and spending upwards of £500 on an airsoft pistol if I knew I wasn't going to be replacing bits every few weeks, or it was, it wasn't so unreliable. I mean, the Glock that I got for Christmas a while back, that wasn't necessarily a cheap one. It was like 150 quid, but every stage at the match, although actually that wasn't that gun. There was another Glock. It's still about £100 Glock. This was a WE, I think. Every mag vented, and it's just frustrating. That's my biggest gripe with Action Air or Airsoft, is the equipment just seems to let you down all the time, or certainly the equipment I've used in the past just seems to let you down. And that's the most annoying thing about competition. Like, if I make a mistake, if there's a slip up or sort of something that I haven't, like, if I haven't performed to the maximum, then I can go away and I can learn from that. That's constructive. I can build on that. If the equipment's failing and it's just like because it's the equipment, then yes, there's certain things you can do to make sure that your equipment is more reliable. But with some Action Air airsoft guns, there is like a ceiling limit of how reliable you can make them, and at the end of the day, it's just luck of the draw, and I really don't like that. Again, that's why I advocate going for something like a 1301 or an M2 in practical shotgun, because yes, every gun has malfunctions, but they seem to have less, and there's less risk of me being able to use that as an excuse, and certainly any faults then are going to be my own, which I can then learn from. Don't forget the finger gun hidden in the coat pocket. Yeah, that's or maybe the hammers. If you've watched Legend, the film about the Cray twins, the two hammers in the pocket. That's a pretty funny scene overall. It's a pretty gruesome and violent scene, but it's done in the beginning quite a humorous way. So in terms of the match, let me see if I can get that up for you. So for those that want to get into practical shooting here in the UK, there are two websites that you're going to need to know about and need to regularly, well, you're going to need to be going on there to sign up for matches, basically. And one is Shoot and Score It, and the other is Practice Score. And I believe the KFC match, KFC match is on Practice Score. So I'm about to put a link in the let me just check I'm not putting like a personal link in there, and you can all go in and change my my entry. No, that's wrong. This is the full link. So I'm going to put a link in the chat for you guys. Go and follow that. That's Practice Score. Shoot and Score It's another one. All of the UK PSA matches, be that mini rifle, LBP, practical shotgun, Action Air, or any of the KFC matches, will either be on Shoot and Score It or Practice Score. So all you need to do is just search by region, and you'll get all of the matches. I believe a lot of the NRA ones are done on there as well. And then you can also go through and see previous scores, like any match that has been held or has been listed on Practice Score or Shoot and Score It. You can go back and see, and it's brilliant. Well, bloody hell, why don't I just bring it up? I've got the screen share, might as well use it. So let's go Practice Score, and I'll bring that up on the screen. Just hope there's no personal details, because I don't want to dox myself. So here we go. This is like your main dashboard. So in your account, and you can see that I'm signed up for 2 matches there. You can see that you've been paid, you've paid it, or you've been approved for it, and then you can squad, and then you can go in and have a look at the match. So there will be a little bit of a blurb. Obviously, I've signed up, so this will be different to what you will actually see. But it gives you a quick quick breakdown: when it is, where it is, what sort of discipline it is. Yeah, that just might have been my personal email address. I get enough spam as it is. So and then you can see the your squads. So once you've paid and you've been approved, you want to pick your squad, and these are the people that you're going to be going around for the rest of the day. So obviously you tend to buddy up with people so you can see a few familiar names there in my squad, and then you can see who else is shooting. So there might be other friends there, and you can see who's going to be there in advance, and then you can also go in go and search things. So let's never do things live, of course, but let's see if I can give this a demonstration. So here we're going to go for country, and fantastically the UK isn't on there. Great. This is it's going well as always. Let's try just like putting in UK PSA. See what comes up. That's not searching. Great. Oh, I honestly don't know. It's probably because I'm on like the shorter screen because I've condensed it, but you get the general idea. You go on there and share, go on there and search and find it, and a lot of clubs will send out the links for it, so it gives you a general look and what you can expect. But there we go. You'll need, if you want to get into practical shooting, certainly you're going to need to know that. What are you guys saying? You just linked your own registration page. Fantastic. I thought I'd do something like that. Anyway, you can't get in there because you haven't got my login details, but this is the link. I found it. There we go. Never do things on live, right? There we go. This is the link you actually need for that match instead of looking at my personal registration page. But yeah, hope that helps. But yeah, if you do need to be, I believe, a KFC member to sign up to it. So don't just go and enter it if you're not KFC. But get in contact. There might be time for you to join as a member and get there as a newbie member. Carl Ash, I'm no lawyer, but it is a sort of common sense thing. Maybe the valid defence provided in law are more guidance than absolute, that leave scopes for a defence a judge, jury would find reasonable. So you're sort of spot on the money there as far as I understand it. Again, I'm not a huge expert in the VCRA or UKARA. I've spoken to a lot of very knowledgeable people about it, and I've got a much better idea of it overall. But a valid defence, there are specific ones listed within the VCRA, like museums, like theatrical performances, and also for military scenarios, so recreating military scenarios. So that can be reenactments, or that can be like skirmishing, so you're not necessarily recreating it, but you are simulating it. And one of the interesting aspects is, of course, that IPSC, so the International Practical Shooting Confederation, which was founded by Jeff Cooper and was born from training police officers, training people of the military better tactics within a shooting scenario. So whilst, again, loads of people love to say that practical shooting is just people pretending to be the SAS, it really isn't. It did sort of start from that, though. It has evolved greatly. So there is an argument to say that if you are doing IPSC, whilst it is not for training police or training military today, there are flavors still in the sport that come from that history. So there are certain stages you will encounter that are, well, every stage, actually, it's within the rule books. Every stage should simulate a real world scenario or a real world example, but it's certainly gone down more of the sport route rather than the defensive route. At the end of the day, if you want to do something defensive, you go and do IDPA, and if you want to do the sport and practical shooting, you do IPSC. So there is an argument there in terms of the valid defense for Action Air, and that's one of the main points of that UKARA video, is saying that Action Air is a valid defense. But you're spot on. At the end of the day, it is going to come down to you stood in front of a judge, you stood in front of a jury, and you don't need a UKARA to be able to prove you have a valid defense. It actually comes down to, like, the shop can do it on a case-by-case basis. It is up to the shop to determine whether you have a valid defense. And at the end of the day, it's not actually an offense to buy, as far as I'm aware and as far as I've read the law. it's not an offence to buy a realistic imitation firearm. It is an offence to sell a realistic imitation firearm. So that's why the airsoft shops are so jumpy if you don't have a UKARA, because it is their necks on the line. But if you can go to them and prove and give them enough proof and justification and valid defense that they're happy to say, well, right, if we get dragged up in court, there's going to be absolutely no problem here whatsoever demonstrating he has a valid defense, or they have a valid defense, then they'll sell you the gun. So the other exemption being theatrical performances, that sort of devolves into like TV and film. Now, within the film and TV exemption within the firearms law, YouTube videos and YouTube is considered TV and film, and that's why previously I've been able to use the TV and film exemption to be able to possess or hold certain firearms that are otherwise unshareable, let's just say. So I technically could go into an airsoft shop and say, look, I've got this YouTube channel, look, you can bring it up and go, look, that's me, I make shooting videos, therefore I have a valid defense under the film and TV exemption or film and TV defense, and they would be, with my understanding, be able to sell me that realistic imitation firearm under that TV and film defense. So it gets all very confusing. UKARA and the VCRA honestly seems to be sort of the most grey and sort of hectic areas of our laws. It's why I've always shied away from it, because not fully understanding or not fully having a good grasp of it. But luckily, got a couple of people nearby that are very good on it. And one of, although I didn't speak with this guy directly, but Mr. Tim Wyborn, who is the name Paul Wyborn and Tim Wyborn, there is of course a connection there. If you want to talk to pretty much an expert on the VCRA and UKARA and valid defences, Tim is definitely the man to speak to. And hopefully, Tim, if you're up for it, we'll be trying to pick your brain at a later date. And if you're not too camera shy, maybe get you on and dive into the depths of it. Paul's been explaining a little bit of the backstory and history, which I won't go into because I don't know how much you want being put out there. But yeah, from what I understand, very, very knowledgeable. So what he says goes, basically. Sam Davison, thank you very much for the donation and for supporting the channel. What do you think of the Atlas bipods? Just paid 300 nuggets for one. Seems legit. Just wondered if you have any experience with them. Or 300 nuggets. I mean, what's like a 24 nugget box? They're like what, like £4 or £5? So that's not a bad deal if you paid in chicken nuggets for it. I mean, they must be very hungry over there at, who is it? I think it's Ray Trade that distribute them. They must like their chicken nuggets. The Atlas bipods are, if they're the right ones, no, I'm thinking of Spartan. Spartan are the ones that I've had the most experience with. I think I know what you mean by Atlas. Let's refresh my memory on these. Oh yes, serious bits of kit. I think I've maybe shot a couple of guns with them. I wasn't really paying attention to the bipod, but having them in my hand and certainly seeing them at shows, very highly regarded, very good bits of kit from what I understand. I'm not a huge bipod sort of guy. It's not something I have a huge need for. There is a fantastic video out there with Ben Ducker from Team Magload and Connors from Magload talking about different bipods for IPSC. If you're going to be getting into IPSC rifle, certainly the full bore rifle shooting, you're going to need a bipod, that's for sure. And if you want to go and watch any of the Rifle World Shoot videos, you're going to see, again, everyone using bipods. But my real bipod experience has been with like the Harris bipods. I had one of those a while back. I think I had it on the Remington 700 when I went for down Bisley and did some target shooting. But yeah, I've never heard bad things about Atlas. people just seem to rave about them. So I really don't think you've gone wrong at all. David Kiddle, Brant's Yard, Basingstoke, near Alton Hants. Yes, you can view, must have eye and ear protection and keep 8 foot back. Well, 2 meters back, of course. So yeah, David, David's just said, if you guys want to learn a bit more about practical shooting or see some practical shooting in the flesh, Brant's Yard and Basingstoke Road, turn up there. When was the date? It's the 3rd of April, and it starts at 8 a.m. So you have to be an early riser, unfortunately, for shooting sports. I really prefer if it was an afternoon sort of thing. But yeah, if you want to come down and hang out, then come down to the shoot. Callum, take down your links, you donut. What links? What do you mean take my links down? Well, you're a mod. You can take them down for me, can't you? Or can't you? Maybe I should take down my personal one. That might help. I forget you can remove them. Anyway, so another big bit of news which we were talking about at the beginning is this lead ban, and I have to try and avoid going on a massive BASC rant. It's going to be difficult, and I'm sure with your support we can do it together. But there was this announcement on the 23rd of March, and this is from the gov.uk website. Plans announced to phase out lead ammunition in a bid to protect wildlife. Now, you can go and check out this later. It's this UK Reach group. They're talking about between 50,000 and 100,000 wildfowl die in the UK each year due to ingesting lead from used pellets. Well, they've already banned shooting over wetlands, so that should already do it. So anyway, logic. 200 and 400,000 birds suffer welfare or health impacts. Well, it's hundreds of thousands. I think the statistical figure that I saw was it was 500,000 birds a year get caught in wind turbines. Like, are we going to stop using wind turbines? But anyway, it goes into a bit more detail about it, notes and all that. I will read up on this and do a full video. And of course, BASC have done an announcement on it, just giving a little bit of summary. Again, it's mostly horseshit, but what more do you expect? The thing that really sort of pisses me off about all of this is this continued engagement. So this is obviously, I believe this is from so continued engagement with the shooting organisations is critical to ensure any proposals are proportionate. BASC, you represent your members, so maybe you want to stop having a little circle jerk with all of the other organisations trying to sell us down the river, and actually stick up for the people you're meant to be representing, or at least fucking ask us, and this is my biggest issue with this. I've done I think I had a whole live stream about it. I think I got a bit carried away and cut up my BASC card, but they've really sold us down the river on this, because this isn't just talking about rough shooting. This isn't just talking about shooting at birds, game shooting, wildfowl shooting, all that. This is all shooting. This is like all lead ammunition, right? So regardless of rifle, let's just shelve the potential catastrophe of shooting sports getting rid of lead ammunition. Like, say goodbye to 2.2 to begin with, if rifle ammunition is all combined within it. But let's shelve that catastrophe for 1 second. Sports shooting. Now, there have been many arguments in terms of the lead and still shot. We could have a whole 2-hour live stream on just those arguments. But at the end of the day, still shot is less consistent than lead shot. You are more likely to wing, maim, injure rather than kill birds with still shot than you are lead shot. It just doesn't pattern the same. So again, it's these eco warriors going, think of the birds. Well, you're just going to end up with more maimed birds. But of course, they think that all shooting animals should be banned anyway. you're going to end up with more injured animals. But then you get onto the sports side of it. Now, say clay pigeon shooting, it would be a level playing field. If people's patterns or the technology isn't as good as lead, well, everyone's going to be using steel. So it's going to be a level playing field in terms of the reduced performance for everyone. And you're shooting at a clay disc, there's nothing coming back at you. For practical shooting though, if you would like to volunteer to shoot a steel plate with steel shot at 5 meters, you're a very brave person, because it fucking hurts. A lot of it comes back. You do get some beautiful sparks, I do have to admit, but mostly they come back at your face, and it's painful. I've been hit with a number of ricochets, okay, like pistol ammunition and stuff like that. Ricochets suck, right? They can draw blood, they can, you know, really injure you. That's why you've got to wear eye protection. There's a picture doing the rounds at the moment of someone being caught with a ricochet, and it's embedded in their face. It's literally just below the glasses. If they hadn't been wearing glasses and it was a couple of centimeters up, that would be an eye lost, no doubt about it. So what the hell is going to happen to practical shooting? And this all stems from BASC making the executive decision that we were ready as an industry to move away from steel shot onto lead move away to steel shot from lead shot. And then famously, all of the cartridge manufacturers, like a couple of days later, came out and said, no one spoke to us. And BASC they have just continuously dug themselves a bigger hole with this. None of the membership has been asked. No one inside of the shooting community has been consulted about this. BASC and the other organisations have made this executive decision on our behalves with no consultation and without actually speaking to the people making the ammunition. And of course, we've talked about it before. I'm not going to go into the names. I've had this from a number of reliable sources, but BASC's actual talking to the industry, they talked to one person from one company who decided to maybe get the company ahead of the rest. Let's just say that this one company was slightly ahead of the game than everyone else and was certainly a little bit more ready to transition away from lead. So this one individual ended up getting BASC in a room and going, look, we're ready. Like, because if you do this now, if we transition right now, all of our competitors are fucked, right? We are going to be the kings of steel shot. And BASC took this one person from one company as the voice of all cartridge manufacturers and the voice of the entire shooting community. Needless to say, as far as I'm aware, this person no longer has a job at that company. But it's just like, how many fuck-ups can you make? Such an industry-changing decision, and they take one person from one company's word that the industry as a whole is ready. Like, who does that? It's ridiculous. Again, I've said all this before, but this is now what they've invited, right? Before it was, oh, this is a voluntary transfer over 5 years, and everyone's like, you know, it's not going to be voluntary, is it? Because we don't want it, so therefore it's not voluntary. But anyway, whatever, BASC. And now the UK government has gone, they're trying to ban it themselves. Okay, that's an easy win for us. Yeah, we're going to ban lead ammunition. And now BASC, like the UK government could turn around and say, yeah, we're going to do it in 3 years instead of 5. And BASC are going to have pretty much fuck all argument for going up against that. They're going to be... They've literally waved the white flag where it comes to lead ammunition. They have given the UK government and all of the antis all of the arguments to use against them. And if the UK government decide to speed things up, because BASC are the ones saying this is such a problem, we should do it, and the government's going, yeah, okay, so hurry it up, we're absolutely screwed. So I think it's just an utter clusterfuck overall. It sort of defines what BASC seems to be doing at the moment. Again, they do a lot of good work in various other places, but you do have to wonder, you do have to weigh up losing lead ammunition versus all of the good that they seem to do. for practical shooting, losing lead is a bit of a big deal for us. So I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know what the solution is going to be. I mean, David over at Caliber Innovations are probably laughing because we're probably going to have to go to like the new pro rubber targets. We're not going to be able to use steel targets, right? And that's going to put us at a huge disadvantage. If the rest of the world is still using lead shot and the rest of the world is still using steel targets, and we can only train with, let's say, steel simulated targets, when we go out to competition on the world stage, we're not going to be used to shooting at steel. We're not, it just, and also because they're going to be steel targets internationally, we're going to have to switch back when we go abroad to lead ammunition. So you're going to be using a different cartridge, one that you don't train with, one that you don't know inside and out and how it patterns and how it shoots. It's just, for a country in terms of IPSC practical shotgun, we're up there, right? And it's one of the only practical disciplines that we, maybe arguably apart from action air and mini rifle, so actually a fair good spread. But obviously we have no hope in handgun, we have no hope in full bore rifle IPSC shooting because of our laws. Thank you very much, Hungerford. Thank you very much, Dunblane. Or should I say thank you very much, the Gun Control Network. Again, 40% of all firearm offences today still use handguns. So yeah, what job did that do? We're going to be at a massive disadvantage. It's going to pretty much destroy practical shotgun within the UK, and then it just leads us down the path of banning. And again, I haven't had time to really look into this in depth, but let's just say by some miracle that rifle ammunition isn't included in this first phase. It will come. As soon as they ban lead shot, they will be banning lead ammunition entirely. You cannot, at the current price of 2.2 rimfire, there is no other material that you can make as cheaply and in as high a volume. Yes, I've seen the developments of, say, plastic rounds and very special materials, but the mass market, the mass production is not there yet. It's still with lead. We're going to be absolutely screwed. So yeah, more positive news from English Shooting, BASC, and the UK government. I do understand that they are desperate for some good press and to save the game market, but you would have thought this would have been very well thought out. Yeah, the general premise of it, like, I get it, right? We need to make shooting as friendly and bunny friendly and vegan friendly as possible. But there is a huge, and it's not just me. There is a huge. I don't want to go as far as say conspiracy, but there are a lot of questions between BASC's involvement in terms of the sale of game meat and this drive to move the industry to help the game meat market. Now, it does make a lot of sense. If you make game meat desirable, if you make game meat profitable in terms of increasing the value of it, in terms of supply and demand, if there's more demand, then prices will go up, and it makes shooting sports more sustainable. I get that. That's a very hard point to argue against, but there seems to be a lot of backroom meetings. There seems to be a lot of handshaking going on between organizations that benefit greatly from all of this. And again, as a predominant practical shooter, it just feels that we're getting sold down the river to protect game shooting. Now, I will protect any form of legal shooting sports, and I will say and more. It's like I would protect handgun shooting if we allowed them, but you know what I mean. I will protect all legal forms of shooting sports here in the UK. You can have a Section 5 for handgun, so it's still technically legal. And I will protect game shooting, right? There are people that love their game shooting as much as I love my practical shooting, and I will support that. But in terms of this fluffy bunny, rainbows and unicorns image, it is game shooting that vilifies shooters more than sport shooting, right? But yet the practical shooters and the target shooters are the one that's continuously thrown under the bus to protect game shooters. And what's the differentiation there? What's the differential? Oh, that's right, money. It's where the money is. There is a stupendous amount of money in game shooting, like eye-watering amounts of money. And BASC are, you know, it's like they started as a wildfowling organisation, right? They're a game shooting organisation now, today. That's their main focus, if we're going to be completely honest about it. And it's where the money is. Like, fair play, good business move. But you're not a business, you're a membership, you're there to support your members, and not all of your members shoot game. So maybe you need to balance the scales in terms of representation. But anyway, I said I wouldn't get ranty. Yeah, that went out the window very quickly. So let's move on to something more powerful, more positive. What is all this C? I don't know. Access, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Appreciate support, donation. People without at least a GC cert shouldn't get to pass firearms laws. I guess you meant like SGC, so shotgun certificate. Shouldn't get to pass firearms laws. Also, when the Dunblane video happened close to where I grew up, so I am interested. Again, that's one that's been in the background. It's a very obviously sensitive video. I want it to be right. And yeah, there's just been other stuff that I've been, you know, putting out before. It will come out. You know, I've sort of missed the whole hype around the documentary that went out there, but the video doesn't really touch on the documentary. It's more just the general facts and failures since, in terms of the laws that have been made and gun crime, preventing gun crime or increasing gun crime as they ended up doing. It is in the works. I'll probably try and chip away at it this evening, possibly even Sunday. But yeah, I will try and get that out as soon as possible. What is all this C and D? Oh wait, okay, I see. Carlash, will UK gun laws ever A, ease even slightly, B, remain largely the same, or C, get tougher? Yeah, that's gonna, I mean, if I was gonna bet on it, my money would be on C. If I was gonna take a long shot punt, I would like to say A. There is good foundations and there is good work going on. I mean, it could be a lot better, but that's the NRA for you. There is a lot going on in terms of laying the groundwork for getting handguns back here. Maybe not. I mean, the dream, of course, would be have proper handguns back on Section 1, on a firearm certificate. That could be a very far away goal. But I could certainly see it getting easier for people to get into handgun shooting. At the end of the day, or being able to own a handgun in the UK for sport shooting. The NRA managed to wangle these Section 5 licenses for sport. I wouldn't put it past the UK PSA to end up doing the same. To put it forward as an argument. Look, okay, it's the Olympics. It's pretty hard to argue against the Olympics in terms of training and the level of sportsmen. But IPSC is gaining traction. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. They are sort of on the Olympic, or what was it? They achieved Olympic observer status. So they're making those steps up to the Olympics. And if practical shooting looks like it's going to get into the Olympics, we're going to have the exact same argument with the Home Office as the NRA did in terms of, 2-2 pistol shooting. So I could see that happening. Like, I really don't think that is out of the realms of possibilities, is to have, 20 or so Section 5 sporting licenses. I know there's, 1,500 UK PSA members. For only 20 people to get them, they're going to be some very, very lucky individuals, but it's a start. And once you've got 20, you go for 40, and then you go for 100, and then you go for 200. And then before you know it, it's like, if you're a UK PSA member, you can get a handgun for practical shooting. I don't think that's too far out of the possibilities. The issues are going to be the cuts. They're going to be the slow, continuous cuts. You know, losing Mars and lever release, losing lead ammunition. Thanks, BASC. It's all these little things. You know, further restrictions on obsolete calibers, further restrictions on ammunition, further restrictions on airsoft, miniature rifle ranges, high muzzle energy rifles. It's all these little things that over the course of 5 or 10 years end up drastically changing the sport. You know, the VCRA, the Violent Crime Reduction Act, huge blow to airsoft and action air, right? So it's these little ones we have to worry about, and this is what pisses me off so much with the likes of BASC and the NRA. Is it's like, oh, it's only lever releases. Yeah, but look at what we've already lost. You know, like stop, he's already dead. Like that's where we're at. So it's going to be the small cuts that I think are gonna hurt us the most long term. I would be hopeful that there will be some ground gained in the future, but it's all a numbers game. I say it all the time. We need as many people shooting, many people taking part in this sport, and you know, at the end of the day, numbers mean voters. You know, at the moment we've got around 750,000 license holders across the UK. Okay, that potentially is enough to be able to swing an election either side. You know, certainly if your name's Joe Biden, but it's going to need far more impact than that. You know, in America, that's why guns are such a political issue, because you can easily swing an election with the gun owners, with the Second Amendment supporters, because there are millions of them. You know, if we ended up increasing shooting sports to, you know, let's say we got to 5 million license holders, any government is going to look at that and go, right. And the thing is, right, you go and get an FAC or an SGC, that's a bit of a process. That's a lot of paperwork, that's a lot of time, that's you know, you need to put energy into that. The sort of people that are going to go, I'm going to throw this out there, I would predict there is a disproportionately higher percentage of people within the shooting community or FAC or SGC holders that vote versus the rest of the public, right? Because some people don't vote because they just can't be asked. They can't be asked to go up and you know, put their thing in the ballot box. They can't be asked to make sure that they're registered, to make sure that all of their details are up to date, right? But FAC holders and SGC holders, we have to do admin and paperwork, you know, every bloody other day. You know, we're sort of used to it. It's part and parcel of the sport. So you've got 5 million SGC and FAC holders that are used to going through the bureaucracy of getting their licenses. There's gonna be a high proportion of voters in there. When you get to the 5 million mark, any government, any party is going to seriously consider that. You know, look at UKIP, right? And I know there's a disproportionate amount of Brexiteers within the shooting community, which I sort of find quite funny, because it just, you know, speaks to me that they're just very logical people, very sound mind people. I guess you can take a guess of how I voted. But UKIP, and you know, was the only party really, well, apart from maybe the Libertarian Party, that were talking about guns. I mean, Nigel Farage went on and said, "Yeah, I'd bring back handguns," because, you know, he's not a stupid man. He can see that the previous bans had no effect other than to drive gun crime up. And how many shooters saw that and was like, screw everything else? Like, even if you loved Europe, you would still be tempted to vote for UKIP based on the fact that they were the only one that were mentioning guns in any way, shape or form. So, you know, that gained UKIP a reasonable amount of support. Multiply that by you know, multiply our current numbers by 5. Other parties are going to start using that as a tactic to get more votes and to potentially win elections. I mean, what's that? Mount Otto Pori? You know who I mean. Problem is we can't get 10k pro-gun people to complete a consultation form. That is very true. We do like to put ourselves down the shoot ourselves in the foot and sail ourselves down the river, don't we? Bit of free advertising there for Vortex. I mean, I can't show you unless I want to get very wet, but if I do finish this by the end of the stream, there is a nice little token in the bottom of this if you haven't seen one before. But yeah, we can be our own worst enemies. You know, we all need to be vocal. We all need to be active. We all need to be on point and to be proactive about protecting the sport. We leave it to our organisations. They're going to ban stuff on our behalf. I mean, if it was up to, you know, the logic of, again, I know it angers me. I just need to get it off my chest. Makes me sleep better at night. But based on BASC logic, right? We should start handing in all of our guns, because, you know, it would be a voluntary transition to a gun-free country, because, well, it's gonna happen anyway, so we might as well do it voluntarily to look all proactive and good. You know, that's like, I know it's a bit of a silly example, but that is sort of the logic there. You know, well, they can't ban it if we ban it ourselves. Yeah, good one, BASC. Need more people interested in handguns too. More LBPs around would be a good start. Or Action Air. Again, title of this evening's you know, the stream, getting people interested in Airsoft and Action Air. You can learn. I mean, again, I've seen Paul Wyborn shoot, right? You drop him in the States in a handgun match, he will do pretty well. I guarantee it. It's, you know, there's a lot of stuff you can learn from Action Air that transfers very easily into live fire shooting, and it's a great gateway. You end up doing your safety course in Action Air within the UK. You get a bit of experience with a handgun, with a, you know, a pistol of some description, and then you fly out to Nizza and use the 9mm handguns over there. And you upgrade and get a full safety course. So, you know, Action Air is a gateway. Get people interested in Action Air and Airsoft pistols. They're going to want more, right? Shooting is incredibly addictive. We all know this, right? We're all victims of it. You give someone a little taste of it, they're going to want more. You know, I started with a Umarex air pistol. You know, didn't take me very long to end up growing, you know, a decent size collection. It also didn't take very long to lose it, but we'll move on from that quickly, because, you know, bad memories. But yeah, we need to be more proactive about it, and again, that's why I do get gripey. I know, like, the likes of David loves it is more of a joke. I know he, like, genuinely doesn't like Airsoft, but he does, deep down, he does support it, he does encourage it, he does accept it in a way. But, you know, we need more people getting a taste of stuff, getting hooked on it, and progressing. BASC might as well sacrifice LBPs to save duck hunting. Well, BASC and the NRA, both, neither of them have a good reputation in terms of defending handguns. Like, let's not forget what happened, you know? I mean, I was like 5 at the time, but history books are very handy. They did fuck all, because it was like, BASC even at that time was like, well, it's not game shooting, is it? And the NRA were like, well, it's not target shooting, is it? You know, if Home Office came after target shooting, if Home Office came after game shooting, you know, BASC and the NRA would wake up instantly, you know? There is a video of a Japanese airsofter who they flew to the USA. Yeah, I've seen that. Let's bring that up, because it's a really interesting video. And to be honest, this is exactly what I would expect Paul to be like. I really need to get Paul on the channel, because you'd learn a few things, and I keep talking about him, and it'd be good for you to know actually who he is. Oh, we did I think he came on a live stream last year at some point. Let's see if I can find it. Let's go Airsoft T-Rex. If you guys haven't seen this, it really is a here we go. So I bring this up. I can't show too much of it because of, like, you know, copyright and all that. Can airsoft translate to real firearm skill? Now, the long and the short of this is that the guy begins to struggle with, like, the recoil at first. But, like, look at that, right? Just that one clip straight away. The way he, I believe that was a malfunction, the way he clears that, like, the speed and how natural he clears that, that's not something you can just learn on the range there and then. That is a lot of practice. But look how natural he shoots. You know, and this, I think this is like the first shots, right? See, so that muscle memory, tap, rack, bang, that takes a lot of time to get to be that natural with it, right? And as you can see, he's struggling. I think it's this point he's struggling with the recoil. Yeah, he's preempting the recoil of the gun. That you can easily train out. And then I think he gets him onto rifle. That's actually T-Rex himself. I think he does rifle. And again, like, the muscle memory this guy has, like, again, he's like, he looks like an absolute natural with a gun, because it's the same platform as an airsoft shoot, you know, as the airsoft gun that we'd have. It's just a little bit louder, makes a little bit more of a bang. Let's see if we can get more of him shooting. So this is why I'm a huge advocate of airsoft and action air, because it means that as a inexperienced live fire shooter, you can have a reasonable, you know, you can get the most out of going to a range live fire. Like, again, that, okay, there was a few fluffs there, but the guy looks natural. It looks like he's been shooting live fire guns for years. And it really is the best example of why, if you want to get started into shooting, you should really consider airsoft and action air. Yeah, good reflexes. Again, that's a lot of stuff, you know, within IPSC. When everything's going right in a competition, when everything's going right on a stage, like this is going to sound a bit silly, but it's when everything goes wrong, right? Even the best shooters in the world with the best gear and the best training, things will go wrong. They will drop around. They will have a malfunction. They will miss a target. It's how you recover that, right? It's from how you make a bad situation or minimize a bad situation instead of making it worse. So, you know, tap, rack, bang, you know, clearing a malfunction, you know, just little things like that. You will learn as much from action air as if you will, say, practical shotgun. And that will make the real difference. Also being comfortable with the competition setting. Saying again at the beginning of the stream, like, just turning up to a competition and with everything going on, it can be quite daunting. You don't know where you're going. You go and do that in an action air setting. You get familiar with it. You get used to it. It means when you turn up to a practical shotgun match, a mini rifle match, it's all going to be the same, just different guns, and you're most likely going to be outside and with bigger ranges. But it's the same process. It makes you more comfortable. And I say to people all the time, the best training is competition. And certainly when I first started practical shooting, I never had training sessions. Like, everything I was doing was matches. If I went to a Kentucky Firearms shoot, it was a match. If I went to a Phoenix shoot, it was a match. There was no, like, mess about training sessions. It was always a match environment, which made me very relaxed and very comfortable in a match setting, which means that you don't get nervous, you don't start making those stupid mistakes. It's very natural. Again, action air can do all of that as well as everything else. Skirmishing and action air very different. Yes, that is a very big point. Keep blowing my trumpet, Callum. This is me at a level 2 competition last year. Well, thank you for that. I will. I'm assuming I have permission to show this on. Oh damn! It's on the wrong screen. Paul, could you like Facebook message me that really quickly, please? Because that would be a lot easier to get up on the screen. But yeah, just while I wait, we can see Paul in action in a second when he pings me the link. This is the issue with using two different two different laptops for the stream. It's very high tech, very professional most of the time. Paul, put Callum's money where his mouth is. Come shoot real handguns with us. I've offered David. He knows it's there. He knows he's got accommodation if he wants it. He knows all the shooting's going to be taken care of. Hopefully we can try and convince him there is still time. Right, it's come through. Thank you, Paul. Right, so let's see him shoot. Right, this is, you can all judge him, right? You can rip into him. You have all the permission to rip into him as much as you want. I can, without even seeing this video, I can pretty much guarantee there's going to be nothing you can complain, unless it's filmed with potato cam. But we'll see. So for anyone as well, we keep talking about Action Air. This is Action Air, right? Now, apart from different shaped targets and the lack of recoil and obviously noise if there was sound with it, you wouldn't be able to tell. Like watching this footage now, if you looked at it quickly, you wouldn't be able to tell if that was an airsoft gun or a 9mm, of course, apart from the wooden backstop. So very similar. You're using the same paper targets, yes, different size poppers. Building different stages and moving around the stage. You still have to, watch the 90. You still have to follow all the basic safety rules, so on and so forth. So, I mean, if watching the video doesn't make you want to go and do practical shooting or try Action Air, then I don't know what will, because it is incredibly fun. I ended up experiencing a level 3 match. Again, there's a video talking about that on the channel if you want to learn more about it. But yeah, that gives you a little idea. And if you want to see more of Paul, then you can check out his like, go and subscribe, go and share the love, go and subscribe to Paul IPSC. Let's get me there we go. That's better, far prettier. But yeah, there's a little taste of Action Air, and whether you think they're toys or not, I don't really care. It is an internationally recognised sport, and there's people out there that would wipe the floor with most other shooters quite easily. What's going on? Has anyone seen or shot the British Army Airsoft converted Glocks? No? How about learning to clear stovepipes, double feeds, and the dreaded bolt override? Can Action Air do that? Probably need someone a little bit more experienced with Action Air to answer that. Well, the thing is with shotguns, with airsoft shotguns, you're still using cartridges, so you will still get malfunctions with. You can get double feeds with an airsoft gun, that's for sure. Stovepipes, I have, like, genuinely, and I think it was Paul that showed me this. You can genuinely get a stovepipe with an Action Air gun. It does happen, but I can't remember what video it was, but I was talking about this. It's that instinctive. I think it was like a rifle review that I was doing, and I noticed that I have the habit of every time the gun ran dry. Now in competition, it's not a good practice. It's not a good habit to let the gun run dry, but every time it went dry, again, I'm just messing about on the range doing a review, I would turn the gun. Right, and it's just instinctive for me to look at what's wrong. Instead of like stood there going, "Oh, no worky, oh, I'll change a mag." Well, you don't know if there's a stovepipe there. You don't know if there's another malfunction that just jamming another new magazine in there isn't going to do shit. So I like to see the ejection port. I like to see the gun, see where everything out it is, and then once you've seen it, you see, okay, well, the bolt's back. No ammunition in the mag, nothing chambered. I need a new mag, and then you bring it back and you change the mag. So many people I've seen, you've got a stovepipe or you've got a failure to extract, and people just change the mag, and it makes things 10 times worse. So it's just building in that something's gone wrong. What's the quickest, most effective way to recover? And again, for me, it's about seeing what the issue is first, and then acting on it instead of doing anything else before. So that's what it can. That's what I can say in terms of simulating malfunctions. Paul, I can take you in my suitcase. We need someone to abuse Callum on the trip. Between you, Arius, and Connors, I don't think you're going to be short of people to abuse me. Unless we all turn on you. Just wanted to say there is a big difference in experience between electronic AEG and gas blowback airsoft guns. AEG are much more toy-like. Yeah, no, I can sort of understand that. Matt Gibbs, check out Callum's past KFC videos. KFC shoot 3-gun. They are some old ones, so please excuse the video quality and editing. There's a number of years ago that I made those. But yeah, loads of videos on KFC and the trips as well over at American Shooting Trips, the Netherlands trips, the number of videos on that. However, I think English Shooting is right regarding growing the community for numbers to combat the whole whittling away your gun rights. Well, yeah, thanks. Airsoft is Hang Fang. Airsoft is how I got into shooting. Exactly. And another, you know, and I have to say, Hang, I've seen you shoot, and it's you know, from what I understand, it didn't take you very long to get pretty good. I mean, didn't you? I might have it confused, but I'm pretty sure you ended up shooting out your Chris. You put so many rounds through it, so. Yeah, it's just a great gateway, and I don't know why people poo-poo it so much. It's like the same argument as, oh, I'm not going to own an LBP because I want the real thing. Well, you're just removing options. Oh, I'm not going to shoot Action Air because, oh, they're toys, you know. But are you going to apply for an FAC? Oh no, I can't be asked with that. You know, are you going to visit a club? No, but you want to shoot? Yeah, but I don't want to do airsoft. You know, well, start somewhere. CPSA or BASC, CPSA 100%. CPSA if you have a shotgun certificate or a coterminous. So the CPSA, the Clay Pigeon Shooting Association, has legal insurance. There's legal fee. What is it? Forgot. Watch the video on it. I'll get it right in that one. It's like legal fee insurance basically. But it only covers the revocation or refusal of a shotgun certificate. So now you understand why I went for a coterminous, right? I would have anyway, to be honest. But as long as you have an SGC or a coterminous certificate, if you're a CPSA member, you will have access to their legal expenses insurance, and something legal expense insurance. That's it. And another thing that I said about the gun plan insurance, I now actually have a gun plan policy. At the time, there was no mention of it protecting you against the refusal of an FAC or an SGC. And I think I said at the time, oh, it only covers the revocation. Gun plan actually covers everything. It covers the refusal and also revocation. So better to be safe than sorry, certainly with my history. So I'm a CPSA member, I have a gun plan membership, and also the UK PSA has also bought in legal expenses insurance. It's advertised as revocation only, but I have spoken to a couple of people within the you know, the sort of runnings of the UK PSA, and they have said that it potentially would be on a case-by-case basis, but they could use it to help somebody who's been refused. So I sort of had like 2.5 bases covered between the UK PSA, CPSA, and gun plan. So hopefully, if I do have any issues going forward, I should be almost triply covered. Again, better to be safe than sorry, and you can't really have too much legal expenses insurance, especially if you run the English Shooting YouTube channel. If you ever start a YouTube channel, put some money aside. It will get expensive in legal fees, I can assure you. And just for you, the beer lovers out there, I do have another one this evening. I was on my usual, the Sainsbury's own brand IPA. Today I'm on been having this one quite a lot. It's the Beavertown Luploid. Luploid. It is 6.5% though, so I will drink this one slowly, or otherwise we'll start talking about BASC again, and I'll start cutting cards up. That's actually a good point in terms of airsoft. It's like really the only way you're going to experience fully auto in the UK. In some way, I guess. Back in the cadet, we used an SA80 variants on a virtual range that were powered by CO2 and could replicate stoppage drills before we went on to the real things. That's pretty cool. Tiger Woo, on the subject of bases covered, Pappy is now at third base. Do we need to pray for Pappy anymore? Maybe we need to pray that Pappy use protection, or we'll use protection if things are moving at that sort of speed. But yeah, congratulations, Pappy. We all knew it would happen. We're proud of you. Like that is the funniest, like, take it out of context sentence. Not even close, but bonus is you can shoot people without going to prison. Like, lol, Beavertown. Yep. Canadian beavers, eh? Gotta get me some of that Sainsbury's IPSC. Oh, that could be a video. So yeah, moving away slightly from Action Air and Airsoft for the moment, we do have some incredible news, and I like to support people that sort of put UK shooting on the map, and let's be honest, Amber Hill does a great job. She's also very hard to sort of argue against in terms of the stereotype of shooting. You know, she's quite a small, petite, young blonde girl. So it sort of shatters all of the perceptions of shooting sports. She does a fantastic job, but she's just won a gold medal within the World Cup, within the Skeet World Cup, which, and as I think I've got this right, she, because she's won that gold, she gives us another quota for the Olympics. So she's basically earned us another spot within the Olympics, which is fantastic. I'm pretty sure, I don't think it necessarily guarantees her spot, but there is no bloody way after winning the World Cup that they're not going to have her on the Olympic team. You know, like, be serious. So yeah, she ended up equaling a world record in qualification, 124 out of 125. Like, just think of that. I know skeet is like very repetitive, but if you've ever had if you've ever tried it, it's not easy, right? I think out of a round of 25, the best I ever got was like a 22, maybe a 23. And you know, to shoot 125 skeet clays and only drop one, like that is just something special. So she's obviously been practicing. Obviously athletes, like top athletes, are allowed to train under COVID, so she's obviously been using the free ranges, the ranges obviously with no one else on, to her maximum, and you know, a big well done. I really think there's got to be a lot of people that Amber Hill brings into the sport, and I think she's going to be doing she's doing a fantastic job for putting it on the map. And you know, when BBC Sport shares the news about shooting, like, you know, something special's happened. Like, actually, let's have a look what other articles. So, well, there's a fair amount. It's mostly the same. I mean, it's pretty much all sort of Amber Hill and the Macintosh. There's a fair amount of shooting, but this really did start like, you know, it's like a big story for the BBC. I think it made it into like sort of the main sport. Like, if we actually go to sport, is she still there? I mean, it was a few days ago. No, it's not on the front page, but I believe it was. It did make it up there. And yeah, good job, congratulations, and looking forward to it. I mean, you know, from that performance, like, there's nothing to say that she can't come away with a gold, which would be, again, absolutely fantastic for the sport as a whole. And I don't know, even as a practical shooter, you might say, well, what's my interest in clay pigeon? Well, clay pigeon shooting is where I started. It's where, again, once people get into live fire shooting, they seem to start with a shotgun and clay pigeon. Still absolutely love a round of clays, but it's shooting sports. It's all the same. I will support a game shooter, a skeet shooter, and an airsofter, all the same. Taller than Callum. Fuck you, Tom. I will ban you. I will put you in the naughty corner. Pappy needs to wash his fingers. Well, especially with COVID. That's for sure. Another bit of interesting news. I did share this on the English Shooting Facebook page. So with all this talk of UKARA and realistic imitation firearms, some bright spark had this idea, and you might have seen it already, but they disguised, yes, within that is a Glock, and no, it's not an airsoft Glock. That is a 9mm Glock. I believe it was 9mm. I mean, it could be like, you know, another caliber. Let's have a little read. Along with a 50-round drum mag. Where was this? It's North Carolina. I don't think they've got any magazine restrictions, but still. What does it actually? Oh, it's a Glock 19. Doesn't say what caliber it was. But anyway, it's a, you know, live fire gun. Yeah, I mean, technically, other than obviously being a Section 5 Glock, you know, that would actually come under the VCRA Act. No, sorry, that wouldn't come under the VCRA Act. That would be an imitation firearm, apart from obviously being real. But can you imagine, like, a police officer in the UK, like, coming across that? Most of them are just going to think it is genuinely a Nerf gun. And it's, you know, it's done to not a bad standard. Like, you look at the paintwork, you know, it's not exactly a hack job, you know? It's, I mean, it's pretty smart. I mean, you know, obviously highly illegal and, like, don't do it, kids. But if you're gonna crim, like, if you can give respect to a criminal, like, that's thinking out of the box. Let's just leave it at that. What do you guys think? Who would do year to their firearm? Who would do that? For context, I'll try and not dox you, Tom, even though you deserve it. Let's. Oh no, I can just go to your. Again, I won't. Oh, I don't know. It's too easy to dox people. So just for when Tom says who would do that to their gun, for, I think I might have shown this on the stream before. This is actually Tom's gun. So he's gone for the Nintendo Blaster look, and not a bad look at all. Did I ever see the Nintendo Glock? Yes, it was the. Let's see if I can find that. Let's bring that up. It's the. I think that was a big. It was a big inspiration for what Tom did with his 1522 that you just saw. But for anyone that, I mean, this is just genius. I mean, it's like sort of done to death now, but if I had a Glock, I would do it. Like, look at that. Like, the magazines with Duracell as well, or Duraglock. I think that's like the OG one, but they did like a whole case for it as well, and it looked absolutely pucker. You know, like, and that's, look, so Tom's done the 1522 equivalent. That's I'm pretty sure it was it Jerry Michalak shot it as well, dressed as Mario? Maybe that's the one with the box. Yes, it is. I mean, that's just winning at life, isn't it? That's just, you've made it, right? So oh, they did a Desert Eagle. Respect. So yeah, if I was able to own a Glock, or maybe I should do my my Action Air Glock like that. Wouldn't potentially be too hard. But yeah, that's the Nintendo Glock if you haven't seen it before. What are you guys? Yep, found the block on the Stereoscope page. Blatantly ripped off this idea. What are the laws on medications? Sorry, what are the laws on medications to guns here? If you have a 22 AR, can you buy and... What do you mean by medications? Oh, modifications. Modifications. Okay. What are the laws on modifications to guns here? If you have a 22 AR, can you buy and swap out different parts like receivers as long as they are fit? As long as they fit on your FAC slot. Yes. So it's a lot more difficult in the UK in terms of building an AR from the ground up. It is a lot more difficult because you would need Callum, shut your homework folder. We don't need to see any more Glocks. Master race. Yeah, so it's a lot harder to build an AR because for every pressure bearing part you need a slot on your FAC. So let's say you wanted to buy all of the, like, you know, what happens quite commonly in America is you'll go out there, you'll buy a receiver set, you'll go and buy a barrel, you'll go and buy your bolt, so on and so forth. If you did that in the UK, you would need a slot for every single part. So probably your receiver set you could probably get down as just one part, your barrel would be another part, the bolt would be another part. I'm sure that's it. Yeah, that's it. Everything else you'd be able to buy. So instead of the one slot, you would need 3 slots to be able to build an AR, potentially 4 depending on the receiver set laws. But it is possible, or you end up you work with a friendly RFD. So I mean, part of the fun is doing it yourself, but if you have a friendly RFD, you can store parts with them. I know that's what Daniel's done in the past quite a bit, and you sort of over time add to it, and then once you've got all the bits, then you just tell the RFD to build them all. In terms of modifications, you're allowed to modify them. It's a bit difficult. So in terms again of pressure bearing parts, so it would need to take place at an RFD. So let's say you shot out your barrel, right, and you needed a barrel replacement. Now, unless you had a slot for a spare 22 barrel, you wouldn't be able to do it yourself. You would need to go into an RFD. They would have to take it off, dispose of the old one, and put a new one on there. That's completely fine. You wouldn't need any variations. You wouldn't need any new slots as long as the RFD does it. Even in terms of upper and lower receivers, that can be done as general maintenance by the gun shop. So let's say your gun has shit the bed and you've split an upper receiver, or you've had something catastrophic, or do what Dan does and just change everything up. As long as the serial numbers stay the same, you don't need to go through with variations. Again, as long as the gun shop is the one doing it. In terms of, I mean, you were using certain examples. So when you say swap out different parts, so like receivers, yes, receivers, you would need a slot to be able to do it yourself, or you need to take it to a gun shop. For things like triggers, safeties, magazine releases, fore ends, stocks, grips, optics, muzzle brakes, what other things can you put on there? Bad levers, any other furniture, free to do with what you want. You can swap out a trigger as many times as you want. You don't need to tell a soul it's not a controlled part. Oh, that's better. But yeah, it's so there's a little bit of flexibility in terms of what you can do and what you can't with it. But in terms of pressure bearing parts, you basically go to a gun shop. So 80% lowers aren't very popular in the UK. No. Technically 80% lowers would be legal, but it comes down to intent. So you need in terms of prosecuting someone, in terms of the manufacture of firearms, you need like the tools, so like the tools, the skills, the like schematics / drawings / files, and the intent, right? And if you have an 80% lower, that sort of automatically gives them intent, right? Because it's like, why do you have an 80% lower if you're not going to make a gun out of it? Now, I've always toyed with the idea of buying or bringing over 80% lowers genuinely as paperweights, right? As desk ornaments, as something just fun to have on the shelf. You know, you don't need it. You know, it looks like a receiver, but you don't need to put it away in a safe. It's not licensable. You know, have one as a paperweight on the desk in the office, things like that. But I really don't know if I want to play that game with customs bringing it through. Like, you know, and certainly unless I have an RFD, like, I just don't want to be playing that game. But 80% are, you know, the people can't really make their own guns here, not unless you're an RFD. So the need of an 80% lower is much smaller. Plus, again, you know, if you've got a drill, if you've got a pillar drill, an 80% lower, and Google, the police can pretty much string them all together as a potential intent to produce illegal firearms. So it's not really a game you want to be playing. And the police, they love to jump to conclusions, trust me. An 80% lower wouldn't be considered a pressure bearing part, though, surely. No, again, I still, as far as I believe, and I'm not a legal expert, do not take my advice in terms of my legal advice. I personally, I would be happy, and bearing in mind, you know, I don't have an RFD, I don't have an FAC or an SGC. I would be happy to have an 80% lower, because I feel like I could make the argument in court. You know, like, I run a shooting channel. I have quite a big interest in things shooting. You know, it's an ornament. You know, yes, come and arrest me if you come and find that 80% lower and there's stuff removed from it, arrest me, all right? But otherwise, it is literally just a paperweight. You know, and at the end of the day, we've got Magload has a CNC machine, right? We have CNC machines. If we really wanted to be making illegal firearms or illegal uppers and lowers, like, you know, and we've got 3D printers, right? If we really wanted to be making illegal firearms, we would. But we don't, because we don't want to break the law. We want to be law-abiding citizens. We want to be lawful shooters. I'm going to fill my suitcase with lowers when we go to Kentucky. I'm not flying with you, Kyle. Make sure you're on a different fucking flight to me. I don't want anything to do with you. I have spent 5.5, 6 hours in customs before because of gun parts. It's like, yes, you can get stupid discounts. Yes, you can get stuff out there that you can't get in the UK. And yes, the majority of the stuff is not an issue at all. But you get flagged coming through customs, and trust me, if anybody, if anybody flies with me or Connors, expect the flight and certainly the processes in and out going to take a bit longer. Enjoy your stay at the Heathrow sales, yeah. Careful what you say there, Callum. Shut the fuck. Yep. Obviously, I'm not going to go out there and start making illegal firearms, but I'm stating quite the obvious that, you know, and actually I made a video a while back about 3D printers. Like, that change in law, the change in law of prosecuting people to manufacture firearms, you know, having the means, having the files, having the knowledge and the intent. Like, literally the only thing missing for me is the intent. You know, my final year degree project was on 3D printing and 3D printing technologies, and obviously then working with Connors with Magload. It's like 3D printing is a big part of what we do. So easily have the knowledge there, right? Having the tools and equipment, we have 3D printers. In terms of the files, we all know they're out there online, right? But I don't, like, obviously the real sort of the saving grace on that one is, yes, everyone can access them online, but don't have them on your fucking computer, because if they find those files on your computer, you're screwed, right? Like, it's very hard to argue against. So I sort of on that second one, I sort of give myself a little bit of a saving grace by not being a bloody idiot and having those files. but the intent, like proving intent. And I think in that video, and again, that video has been out there for a couple of years, it hasn't yet caused me issues. I say there, like, how do you improve intent? Like, of course I want a handgun, right? I say all the time, I'd love to have handguns. And I have all of these things around, you know, that I could, if I was that way inclined, do it. That's not a law. So that's not breaking the law. You know, I have a car that I could do 180 mile an hour in, right? Does that mean they're going to come and arrest me for speeding? No, because I don't go and do 180 mile an hour on public roads. You know, people who own LBPs could quite easily, with a hacksaw up in their shed, cut off the rod. Does that mean that they should go and arrest people for having potentially Section 5 weapons? No, because people aren't fucking idiots, and they're not going to be going and cutting the rods because they're law-abiding citizens. You're not going to go through again, you know, everyone knows this, you're not going to go through all of the rigmarole of getting your GP form filled out, getting your referees, putting in your application, paying all that money, having the interview, and waiting for 12 months to get an LBP to instantly cut off the rod. Like, it just doesn't happen, you know? Anyway, the point I'm trying to make, is perfectly clear, is that I have no intention. No, Daniel, you stop. I have no intention of doing it. Talking about the law, talking about so that other people are aware of the do's and don'ts, that's beneficial. Explaining how you can potentially cross the line, that's beneficial. That's what I think people, well, that's why people like watching their channel, because I explain it. Anyway, just to get that out there. Oh, now the ribbing started on my car. Yes, I drive a Beetle, and I'm quite happy. All right, it's a very nice Beetle, very quick Beetle. Anyway, I'll get you, Paul. Hey, like if you want to talk about cars, Paul, I can easily do a review of yours. I thought the US gun laws were confusing. Yeah, nothing, like nothing. You got nothing on us, right? Gosh, I feel like there's some untold story about Callum getting in trouble for saying something on here. Warm, you're getting warm. You know, let's just say things like to be taken out of context. 108. I will fall on the sword. Let's speed. Sorry, I sold it short. 188 mile an hour is the top speed. Well, let's just check that might be the new model. Should have just stopped being poor, right? 108. So the 981 GT4 top speed 183 mile an hour. You know, and this is I know, like linking cars and all that, but having a car that can do, what's that? That's almost 3 times the national speed limit, right? Does that mean that the police have justification to follow me about or kick in my door? No, because until I give a reason that I've, you know, yes, if I started making videos of you know, how to 3D print your gun, like, yes, I think it would be more than justified for the police to kick in my door and have a bit of a search. But other than running a company that owns a lot of 3D printers and uses 3D printers to make quite legal products, there's no other justification. Oh, and of course my, you know, interest in all things firearms. You know, once I have the correct licensing, once I have an RFD and I know I can do it legally, I would like to 3D print a gun. I have an interest in shooting. I have an interest in 3D printers. I'm not going to do anything until I have the right authority to do so. So, you know, what's the problem in saying that? Anyone been tempted to do one of those private military courses in Eastern Europe for the fun of some AK action? I mean, they do look pretty cool, but I mean, it's the same reason that I haven't gone and tried skirmishing, or like, you know, let's say conventional airsoft, is the sort of military and sort of army shooting and getting dressed up in the camo doesn't really appeal. Paintballing, I do have to say, I do really enjoy paintballing, and I know airsoft guns can hurt, but paintball guns like hurt more, and it's like, it's one of those, there is, I'm not going to say like being shot with a paintball gun's like actually being shot, but there is definitely more of a reaction, and it's also less easy to cheat, you know. It's but that side of shooting, like skirmishing, you know, the military aspect, I'm not a huge, even like historically, you know, historic firearms, you know, historical military firearms, yes, I loved my Mosin when I had it, and yes, I will have an Enfield and a Mosin when I get my FAC back, but it's not a huge interest of me. I like competing. I like competitive practical shooting. So yeah, in terms of going and doing these courses, and again, it would be far too easy. Like I know this is gonna sound like a weird thing to say, but the chances of you know, a picture of me doing some sort of, you know, if I went and did something like that, right, I would film it like 100%. I'd put it on the channel, and you know that next time, like the Times do an article, or the Daily Mail or something like that, that is the picture they're going to use, you know. And I like to try and disassociate. I'd still support it, I'd still will try it, but I like to keep it purely about the sport, because all the time I keep it purely about the sport, it's a lot harder for any potential, you know, journalist or you know, reporter or whatever to twist things into this, you know, military and self-defense and all this. No, I end up talking about military and self-defense because you guys ask about it, but in terms of my direct interest, it's sport shooting, it's competition, it's IPSC, it's 3-gun, it's competitive shooting. Any tips for a 14-year-old trying to persuade an FEO that he is okay for an FAC? Maturity. Like, first of all, being mature, conducting yourself when if you meet them, you know, how you are and your mannerisms and all that is going to be a very big thing. Going and getting references, like, I know you have to provide references for your FAC, but going getting more and getting as much experience at the club as well. If you can sit there and you can bore him to death with all of the different shooting you've done at all of the different clubs, and you can provide a mountain full of references from all the different people that you've shot with, all of the, you know, club committee members you've shot with, you know, that's going to show, right, this guy's really serious. They've, you know, they're being very mature about this, and so on and so forth. So 14 years old is not out of the question. Obviously, you will then have the issue in terms of getting the gun, because I believe it's 15. I think you have to be 15 to be able to be gifted a Section 1 gun. But obviously, if you get the FAC, then you can be gifted a gun as soon as you turn 15. I think that's the I actually had somebody, let me find it, because I somebody emailed me only the other day about this, and I ended up sending them the link, and here it is. I'll bring it up on the screen, because I know a lot of people ask about age restrictions, and I have to be fair. Be fair to Hampshire, right? I reference this page all of the time. It's like one of the most useful things they've ever done. So let's have a look. So possess a Section 1 firearm and ammunition. So at 14 you can receive. Oh no! So at 14 you can receive a Section 1 firearm and ammunition as a gift. There you go. So yes, you know, within law you would be able to not only get your FAC, but somebody could gift you a gun. You would have to wait to 18 to buy a gun. I know that sounds really confusing, but there are ways. Trust me. So yeah, just for anyone that wants to know a bit more, just go onto the Hampshire I always type in like Hampshire age restrictions firearms into Google, and this page always comes up. But that's generally the long and the short of it. But yeah, really useful page. It can get a little bit of just an absolute clusterfuck sometimes trying to work out what people can and can't do. So yeah, also your social media, like going through and cleaning up. You know, I'm not saying there's anything on there that would be bad, but making sure there's no like silliness on your social media. Again, you want to portray that you are responsible, that you are mature, that you understand the responsibility, and you need to be able to demonstrate that in as many different ways as possible. But yeah, I mean, all the best. If you want any advice or any further help, there's a few people that I know of personally that have been in this situation. I'm sure they'd be more than happy to help you. I know of a few RFDs that have helped in those situations as well. So if you want to drop me an email, I'm more than happy to try and point you in the right direction. EnglishShooting@gmail.com. And yeah, all the best, because again, getting young shooters interested and getting them into the sport, we need new blood. We need as many people as possible. So yeah, I'll try and help out where I can. Do I have a TikTok? No. I think Magload did. I downloaded TikTok, and very quickly stopped using it because I was spending far too much time on there. I myself don't have TikTok, but maybe at some point. Oh no! Don't do it. Oh, log in. Nope. Log in. Come on, I just want to show you the Magload. Cancel. Oh. I can't be asked. I haven't been on there so long it's automatically logged me out. Anyway, Magload has a TikTok account. I think there's like 3 posts on it, but yeah, we were just exploring, just again, you know, in terms of marketing, in terms of getting the business out there, just having a look. But with no matches going on at the moment, there's not a huge amount, you know, unless you just want to see thousands of TikToks of inside of the office or workshop. You know, once we get shooting, we're on the range regularly again, then we will be doing as much, trying to put out as much media as possible. Long time ago, I had an FAC at 16. My father had to get an FAC just to buy the gun and then give it to me, but that was in 1974. That's not actually, like, things haven't come that far, if I'm going to be honest. That's usually the process, and certainly the easiest process. There are other ways as well for RFDs to gift guns. So an RFD doesn't necessarily have to sell you a gun, they can gift a gun, but it gets a little tricky, and you need to be able to, you know, everything's above board, no one's doing anything shady. There's just a certain way to do it, and to make sure it's done right. There was one account that I've been following on TikTok with the UK scene, and it's all good. Is that Britfire Shooting by any chance? I know they're on it. Does a lot of videos and pictures at the range that we use. Have you got your certificates back? No, not yet. That's very much being held up at the moment. Is there anything that is banned under Section 5, like in the US have destructive weapons ban? As far as I'm aware, Section 5, like, you can have anything under Section 5. It's, as far as I'm aware. Again, I don't have a Section 5. I'm not a huge Section 5 expert, but I don't believe there's anything like Section 5 is like, you know, the blank check. Or it's not a blank check because you still have slots. You still can only buy what you're permitted under your Section 5 to have. But yeah, like, sort of anything can go under a Section 5 as far as I'm aware. One of the main things, again, I've been talking a lot about this in the previous streams. Some bad news, unfortunately. The Modern Shooting Show that was going to be held at Newbury has been cancelled. Now, it's sort of to do with COVID, but not. I mean, it is to do with COVID, but it's not the reasons you would think. Unfortunately, or fortunately, again, whichever way you want to look at it, the Newbury Racecourse Centre, where the Modern Shooting Show was going to be held, has been turned into a vaccination centre. So they've cancelled the show, and I'm sure they will do it again. I mean, David has been talking with me for a long time about doing their own show, and potentially me being involved in some capacity with it. So I'm sure something else will come about at some point. But it's a shame because it was going to be the first show of the year. But it just means that we have the target shooting show to look forward to even more. 100%, unless that one obviously gets covified. It's going to be like the only real show of the year, which is a bit of a shame. I mean, I think the game fair's going ahead, but I mean, game fairs, the game fair, like the target shooting show is a great day out. All the shows are a great day out, but for me, the game fair is actually less about the guns. It is just more of a just nice day in the countryside with various countryside things in it, and there just happens to be a few gun stands, But for the target shooting show, I look forward to that for the guns, for the shooting, and all that. So yeah, I may go to the game fair with the lack of Northern Shooting Show, British Shooting Show, and now the Modern Shooting Show. Like, I'm sort of missing my show, so I might even be going to the game fair. I think as well with BASC you get free membership. It's not worth it, but you get, if you are a BASC membership, then BASC member, then you gain entry to it. Oh dear, someone said it. Suffolk Rifle Company. In what context are you talking about Suffolk Rifle Company? Because it's probably not good. Really, a section 5 about illegal. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, I mean, it's a shame. I mean, Suffolk Rifle Company used to have all of the stuff that like no one else could get. It's where I ended up buying my drum mag, the Black Dog 1522 drum mag. Like, no one had them for love nor money. And then it was a Facebook post. It was like, I have 10. Let me know if you want one. And literally in the 5 minutes it had been up and for me to message, the guy, he was like, yeah, I have 3 left. I'm like, yeah, I'm having one. And he used to have the straight pull M1 Garands, and you used to always know where Suffolk Rifle Company was in the shows, because it would just be like, ding. You're like, oh, they're over there. And there was one time, like, I sort of had various dealings with Neil. Of course, it was Suffolk Rifle Company that put the 12-inch barrel on my 1522, and also was almost the first one to bring out a UK legal Glock. But yeah, I remember like dropping by his stand and be like, look, can I finally get a video of the M1 Garand? And he just gave me this look like, the M1 is off limits. If I hear that ping one more time today, I am likely to break the gun with the person that pings it. But yeah, unfortunately, Suffolk Rifle Company is no more. There was a whole debacle, and I don't think really anyone knows exactly what happened with it. I think the general gist was, there were, from what I've heard, and again, none of this is confirmed, but there was an SA-80, a UK legal SA-80 that had been sent into or dropped off at Suffolk Rifle Company for some work. They then had to reproof it, and in the proof house ended up discovering parts from a Section 5 gun, which the military police went down to investigate further. Now, Suffolk had absolutely no issue, like that was nothing to do with them as far as I'm aware, but because of that, they ended up going and having a search, and they ended up finding, I believe, some pistols that had been previously surrendered. Now, the story I've heard is that somebody had surrendered. You're allowed to surrender any gun to an RFD, right? They're allowed to take them in for the purpose of disposal. But the story, as far as I'm aware, is somebody had done that. They had surrendered these pistols. Suffolk Rifle Company had phoned their FEO. Their FEO was on holiday, and apparently he just waited for the FEO to come back. In the meantime, military police come round, find these pistols, and it's like, well, these have been here for like 2 weeks. What the fuck? And there was this whole debacle with it. So I think that's the general. I don't know if that's 100% correct, but that's what I have been told multiple times by many people, and it's a shame because he was bringing in stuff, he was bringing in all the modern stuff, all the cool stuff that we all like, but yeah, not the best situation that he found himself in. How do you even buy an SA-80 without a Section 5? So there was the 22 cadets, the 22 cadet rifles, I believe. Also, it depends. There's a real. We had this explained by like an expert, like a forensics expert. Like some Section 5 parts can be used. I'm not even going to say it because I'm not 100% sure that what I'm going to say is correct. But there are ways, as long as it wasn't a previous Section 5. So like, let's say it was a 2.2 semi-auto SA-80 cadet rifle. You could convert that into a 223 straight pull, and that would be fine. So that might have been what happened, or it was actually a 223 semi-auto. I don't know. Let's. Oh yes. Again, on there's been a lot of Airsoft this evening, and a lot of Airsoft this week. But for those who haven't seen it, there was this little bit of a Darwin moment this week. Again, shared on. If you want to see all this stuff first, then check out the EnglishShooting Facebook page. But yeah, basically, there was a group that travelled up from Southampton up to Basingstoke to go into a wooded area and play Airsoft. Needless to say, the police weren't particularly impressed. They ended up getting all sorts of fines. I mean, and what I said on the post basically was, I mean, that's pretty much about it. What I said on the post was, like, running around the woods with airsoft guns is going to gather attention anyway. Never mind under a lockdown. So this is like, don't be fucking idiots, guys. Don't push it, especially if you're doing anything sort of shooting related. It's far too easy for people to get upset and get the wrong idea. Doggo, if there were no strings attached, would you move to the US? Well, when you say strings attached, like, you're talking about my fiance, you're talking about my parents, you're talking about my job. Like, if my fiance looked up and said, let's go and live in America for 5 years, and her parents were cool with it, and my parents would like 100% be cool with it, because it would be an excuse for them to come and visit. They love the States. So let's just get that string out of the way. Fiance's like happy and on board and up for it. It probably wouldn't be that hard in terms of mag load, because we want to increase US sales. That's part of the reason we're going and spending nearly 3 weeks out in the States in October. So that would be all workable. So yeah, I mean, if all the relevant people were happy with it and we could make it work in terms of the business and financially, then yeah, I probably would. But it's when you bring in, we're actually going through buying our first house. So we're really sort of setting roots. I mean, probably now is the right time to potentially abort and move to the States, but we're laying roots down, and we want to be getting married in the next year or two, and kids within the next 2. Yeah, that's right. Like, I'm gonna have kids. I don't know if the world can take it, but we'll find out. They're going to be awesome. They're going to be absolutely awesome. I'm going to be teaching them to shoot from such an early age, if Hampshire will give me my licenses back. But yeah, so if it was as simple as that, family were on board with it, fiance was on board with it, and all that, then yeah, absolutely. But we're starting to sort of lay down roots. We're starting. It is about to get infinitely more harder. But I've always said, yes, shooting over the years has become a much bigger part of my life, but it isn't the be all and end all. At the end of the day, I've got a degree in electronic engineering. I could quite easily not do shooting as a full-time job. I'm just very fortunate to be able to do it. So I have many different avenues, and for me, relocating just for shooting, you know, I've got to think of other people. But yeah, no strings attached. If everyone was on board in it, yeah, probably. Like at the very least, I will have a holiday home out there at some point, so that I can be legally a resident. And certain states will allow legal residents. I think they refer to them as like legal alien residents or something like that. And there are some states where you are as a legal alien resident, if that's the right term, you're allowed to go and buy guns. So, you know, that's something I would like to sort out in the future. You know, be able to, you know, fly out there. I mean, like, because Florida, well, even Chicago, not that I would want a place in Chicago, but, you know, you can get flights out to Chicago for like £400-500. Again, £400-500 to Florida. So maybe having a place, and actually, to be fair, it's only like a 4-5 hour drive for Chicago to Kentucky, maybe a bit less. I should really know that, seeing as we're effectively going to be doing it. But it wouldn't, you know, there's places in the States that I could have a house and travel to fairly cheaply and spend a reasonable amount of time out there, not worrying about, you know, having to take a load of luggage with me because I would have stuff out there already, not having to worry about, you know, paying for accommodation and you know, meals out and stuff like that. I could just I would have a base. So that's definitely something I'd like to do going forward. You know, for those of you, you know, I always say I was an American born in the wrong country, because just so many things. I definitely, not just because of the guns, I definitely identify more with Americans sometimes than I do the UK. I'm very patriotic. I love the UK. Gun laws suck, but you know, there's a lot of things where I'm like, I was definitely born in the wrong country. It's probably because I was lucky enough, being an only child, I was able to, a lot of my childhood holidays, pretty much all of them were out to the States. You know, so first time out in the States, I was 5 years old, and like, I think I went out as a child, you know, as you know, in terms of a family holiday, I think we went out 6 or 7 times during my childhood. So, you know, during the formative years, like the only other country that I really experienced was the States. And there is this sort of feeling of home, like going back down there and these childhood memories. And certainly with work and shooting and all that, I go to the States more than I go to any other country. So yeah, that I would like more of a base there, more of a home there, let's just say, and be able to build a collection out of there, fly over there a few times a year, do a bunch of videos, doing some, you know, some American shooting. At the moment, that's made a lot easier with, you know, with David and American shooting trips. So I tend to go out at least once a year anyway, but I'd like to go more. I'd love, you know, I'd love to be in a position where you could, you know, I could do it every 3 or 4 months at the minimum, or maybe every couple of months. Obviously, money aside, but yeah, that's where I'd like to get you. That's like a life goal. You know, people talk about houses, cars, and all that. Yeah, I have all of that, but a life goal for me would be to be able to just go, oh fuck it, I fancy a weekend in the States. You know, I know that sounds ridiculous, but or just, oh, I fancy a week in the States. You know, and just fly out to your holiday home out there, open out the safe, load up the truck, drive down the range, and just let off steam. That would be the dream. That's a life goal. So that's very much on the cards. That's something that I'd love to, well, I'm in some way working towards, and we'll see if I get there. When you see the freedom they have around firearms in the US, it always oppresses me going back to Ireland. The thing that gets me going out for the American shooting trips is that you have a holster, right? When you're on the range, you're not allowed to take it back to the hotel, obviously, but pretty much all day between like 8 a.m. to 6 p.m, you have a holstered pistol, right? And you get used to the weight of it, you get used to it being there. And then seriously, the week after you come home from an American shooting trip, you'll be like, what? Oh fuck, you know, you have this like muscle memory of being a holster. You know, you'll try and get out of a chair, trying to, you know, not bash the holster, and then you realize it's not there, and you have a little cry, and you look at photos and you cry a bit more. But it wears off. Yeah, the freedom out there is, even after spending a lot of time out there and talking to, you know, being to many different places out there and talking to many different Americans, the attitude, like the attitude of it just astounds me, not in a bad way. It's just like, we all think we know what it's like, but it's just, I was out there for work, and we were on this military base, right? And there was one guy, and I started talking about oh, that's right, somebody was talking about somebody was talking in this cabin about guns, and they were across the room, and there was like the Brits. There were two groups, well, three groups of Brits, and we were all sort of in our own little clusters, and two different groups of Americans, right? And I'm like the other side of the container, and I can't remember what they were talking about, but I ended up like saying a caliber, right? I think they were talking about like what all of the calibers, like a Remington 700 or like a Ruger Precision, came in, and they were going through like the 223, the 308, and all that, and I just ended up like, it was like, you put my head around and go, oh, 6.5 Creedmoor, and then there was this like deathly silence as they're trying to as they realise that 6.5 Creedmoor was just spoken in a British accent, and they were like, wait, what, you shoot? And I was like, yeah, like, I'm big into my gun. This is while I still had an FAC, and they were like, I'm like big into my guns, and it just opened up this massive conversation straight away. And the bosses of my place at work at the time weren't so keen of my interest in firearms, and certainly the videos, but that was like the one time where they were like, right, because they were customers at the end of the day, and we're building like a supplier customer relationship, and that was like the one time they were like, right, this is finally going to pay off. And we ended up having this massive chat about guns, and one of the guys was like, right, I'll bring my rifle in one day, and we'll just go outside the gates and have a shoot. And I'm like, but there's a highway outside here, like there's no range. He's like, yeah, it's public range, it's public land, like you can pull your truck up at the side of the road and just fire off into the desert. I'm like, he's like, what? Why does that seem so weird to you? And I'm like, never come to the UK. Like, it was just this mentality that you could just find a spot of land and just shoot, throw a few targets out there and just shoot, And he's like, yeah, they can't do anything, right to bear arms, it's freedom. But if you park facing the wrong way in California, you will get a $90 fine. Like that's like the disparity of it, right? It's yeah, you can drive up to the side of the road and start letting off an AR-15, but you park facing the wrong way on a street in California, and you'll be driving around LA trying to find where you pay the ticket. It's like, in terms of freedom, America giveth, thus taketh away, and all that. And they're so like, oh yeah, you don't park facing the wrong way in California, or LA. I'm like, but so wait, you lose your shit over like high capacity magazines, but you get told to face a particular direction, and you're like, oh, you're okay with that anyway. US suppressor laws tougher than our moderated laws, absolutely. It can take like literally years to get a suppressor, and what, a $250 tax stamp as well, so not the easiest. Whereas over here you just have to go, my ears, oh, I don't want to hurt my ears. I mean, that is sort of, I mean, I'm surprised that the states haven't taken that approach yet and gone, well, I'll sue you. Like, if I end up damaging my hearing in the meantime whilst I'm waiting for a tax stamp, I'll sue you for hearing loss. I wonder, it might have some legs. Oh, Daniel's left. Thanks, Daniel, for joining. Actually, on that note, Cali's not America. Yeah, I can feel that. It is. Cali is like, out of all the states that I've been to, Cali is the most sort of UK feeling in terms of the liberalness and the sort of rules and way of life. So certainly like in LA, let's just say. But yeah, on that note, you're playing GTA while watching this stream. Yeah, never do that in real life. No one's going to take my guns. A piece of paper means nothing to me. they're saying in the US, how many kids have to be shot before I support more gun control? Answer: all of them, even my own. That I have to say, like, I understand what you're saying there, Sport Brand. It's very different to the to sort of the gun culture here in the UK. Like, I get it. I don't think that argument. I think there's better ways to present that argument. The general message, I understand the way it's said, but then again, it's like a fuck you Second Amendment. Like, and that's the one thing that, like, Brits have a real struggle trying to understand. It's like, no, fuck you Second Amendment. Like, there's no. It's like, shall not be infringed. Yeah, but what about shall not be infringed? You know, you have the luxury of having that, and Americans have been brought up with that installed in them. You know, we're very grateful. You know, you guys are like, we want more. You know, we're like, oh, please, more. You're like, no, we're kicking down the fucking door and taking it. But yeah, I've heard a number of people use that sort of phrase before. The thing is, though, like, I'm all for, the people will know that I support our licensing system. I support some gun laws, right? I support the checks and balances. And I know you guys are going to say, the Americans, you're going to say, oh, I'm as bad as the antis. It's just different over here. And, I think there are things that could be brought in America without infringing that would do something. And I know instantly you're going to say, fuck you, Second Amendment. That's your right to. Also, under the right of free speech, I would be able to also freely advocate anything I wanted, but we'll leave that one alone. The issue is, like the UK, the laws they are trying to bring in don't actually solve the problem. So I take it from a different tact. Put something on the table that statistically is going to do something, and we can talk about it. But all the time you're going to go after AR-15s. I saw an FBI homicide statistics, and it's like the amount of homicides with rifles and shotguns is minuscule compared to handguns, right? Meanwhile, you have dickheads like Piers Morgan sat here going, oh, I like handguns, I don't have any problem with handguns. But they are responsible for a much larger proportion of deaths, right? So if you want to prevent deaths, if you want to prevent people dying and getting hurt, then you should be going after the pistols and handguns, because that's what the majority of criminals use. And that's why it doesn't make any sense. And again, it's like here in the UK, oh, let's ban handguns. Well, yeah, but that didn't fucking work, did it? So can we reopen the conversation? Because you tried something, it didn't work, it destroyed a whole industry, and now we're literally worse off. Everyone's worse off. There's more crime. The shooting industry, certainly within handguns, is decimated. So we all lost. Who gained here? Oh wait, the criminals, as usual. But yeah, this is I'm like preaching to the choir here, aren't I? Smooth brains find the AR platform scary. It is simple as that. Yeah, watch the video I did on Sean O'Neill. It's like, would it be better if it was painted pink? Like the point, like we really did set him up on this because we knew exactly what he would do when we showed him that sort of reddish pink stocked 1022. And I had my 1522. We knew, he was like, yeah, I've got no problem with that. We're like, it's pretty much the same gun. Like, you can get 25 round magazines for that. You can get 25 round magazines for that. You can get 50 round drum mags for both of them. I think you can even get 100 round drum mag for the Ruger, right? But you literally like this one, or you literally have no problem with this one because it's not an AR, because it's not black, tactical and scary, or sinister. Sinister is what he how he described it. And I'm like, banning things because they look sinister. Some people might look sinister. Do we ban them? No. Ban the ammo. Is that video on the channel? Let's have a look. I never did release the full interview of it, and to be completely honest, it's because there's a lot more stuff that I can bring up if I need to. Always keep some ammo in the bag, right? You know, never fire all your bullets. I mean, it shut him up though. We haven't had a peek out of him since. Here we go. So yes, it's on there. This is the video. Let's bring that up. So it's Sean O'Neill is clueless on firearms. So you can go and check that. I've been a dickhead and I've done it on this computer rather than the other one. But if you type on in English shooting Sean, you know, SEAN, it's gonna pop up. But yeah, it's mainly a lot of me jabbering on, but there are a few snippets of the interview. Oh yeah, and some overlays. I forgot I did those. Yeah, there's some action I went to town on this. I might have to rewatch this after the stream. But yeah, anyway, you want to see what it's like with British media. I'm sure it's exactly the same with US. Go and watch that. Go and watch that video. I've forgotten all the stuff I did with that. But yeah, go and watch it if you want. But anyway, we've done a long one tonight. It's been 2.5 hours. It's actually pretty much flown by. That whole video just showed that Sean was being petulant. Okay, I just talk about this. The thing that was just, I mean, in some ways I sort of respected him for saying this. In other ways I just wanted, like, it just infuriated me. After we did all of that, all the cameras got turned off, all the mics got turned off, and we went outside and we had a chat. And like, to be fair to him, you know, when he came through the door and saw all the cameras, you could see the decision he was making in his head. It was, do I abort or do I ride this out? And to be fair to him, he rode it out. A lot of people, a lot of other journalists would have just turned around and gone, fuck this, I don't need it. But afterwards, he got it, right? He was like, look, you know, you've basically played me at my own game. You know, you've turned the tables. Like, you're doing your job. Your job is to protect the sport. Your job is to, you know, to challenge people that challenge you and you know, misinformation, all that. And he was like, seriously, word for word, my job is to sell newspapers, right? And he knew that the articles that he was reading would sell newspapers, because they did, right? At least, like, most of the shooting community went and bought the Times that weekend, you know. And he was like, look, it's an interesting story. Like, I'm gonna roll with that story. I'm gonna try and sell newspapers. And I was like, you know, fair play. When the cameras were off, he didn't bullshit, right? He did have a he was very, very open about it. And I said, look, and I was like, the thing is, you could still have a story here without all the bullshittery, without all the sinister looking, you know, weapons of war and all that bullshit. You could create an interesting story that's factual and doesn't throw the shooting community under the bus, right? And if you did that, you would have more stories, right? If you were positive about it, if you were encouraging about the sport, we would open up more. We wouldn't like ambush you with 5 different cameras, right? We would work with you. We would provide you stories. We would, you know, point out the bad apples. We would and all this. But no, it's you versus us. And I would like to think on that one we won. But yeah, it's just go and check it out. It's a funny one. But yeah, on that note, I am gonna head off. But before you all head off, hit the like button, because there's more people watching than likes. So, I mean, maybe you just don't like it, but then why are you watching? And also, if you're not already subscribed, putting out like 2 videos a week at the moment. I've sort of made a rod for myself with that one, but we will continue trying to do that. And we do this stream every week, 7:30 UK time on a Thursday, same place, same time. I do usually have my glamorous assistant and sidekick, Connor's he's here in spirit, always there. It's a bit creepy at night though when I look and it's like, oh, you know, just you're always watching. He will be back on the stream at some point when once we've sorted out the COVID logistics of doing so. But yeah, no, really appreciate everyone coming by. A big thanks to everyone who has made donations and supported the channel. It is much appreciated. And yeah, if you want to subscribe and check out next week, please do so. And a big thanks also to the regulars. There's a good solid regular group of people, you know who you are, that are here every week without fail. And I do appreciate it. It is a highlight of my week doing these streams. I do enjoy it, and yeah, I think this one's been a good one. Not too spicy, but hopefully entertaining and enjoyable for you guys. But there we go. Take care, shoot straight, shoot safe, and as always, hope to see you soon.